people always ask me, what do you do? I say, I help make the world go around.
Yeah.
Those things where it's like, my kids used to ask me that, what do you do? I'll be like, well, you see that piece of steel over there on that building being put up? I help move that.
Yeah.
See some of those boxes of cereal? I help ship those.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where you feel like you're impacting society. So, you're helping the whole chain move.
Welcome to Modern Pipeliner Podcast for IT and energy industry interviews, interviewing key players in the IT and energy industry.
Welcome, everybody, to the Modern Pipeliner Podcast. Today's guest is Matt Nicholas. He is joining us from Nico Logistics. He's a big hauler in the energy space. And so if you need some freight solutions, you can definitely reach out to him. But we're going to go right into this interview here. And so, Matt, why don't you tell us what's your story, your resume, and how did you get to here?
Tim, I appreciate you having me on your podcast, man. Appreciate everything you guys do, man. So I started actually in transportation back in 2015 while I was attending college. Believe it or not, I was at a fraternity event, and a fraternity brother asked me if I wanted a internship for college during the summer. So at that time, I was just kind of hanging out by the pool every day. So I thought, heck, why not? Let me dive into something. So I went to an interview actually that very next day and got the internship for a large brokerage company. I did that throughout the summer, worked there for, about 3 months. And upon the end of the end of the internship, they asked me when I graduated, if I'd like to have a full-time employment. Of course, I said yes. That saved a lot of time. I know a lot of people during college are looking for jobs and applying. So that monkey was off my back for sure. So that made me feel a lot better. But upon graduation, I actually graduated on a Saturday and I started work on a Monday. So my break was only one day, but start the hustle, man. So get into it.
Yeah.
For about 5 years, wore a lot of different hats. I started as a dispatcher, just kind of learning the ropes, dispatching trucks, learning pricing, learning the market. I eventually evolved into more of a customer service role where I was able to be more hands-on with customers, kind of learn the daily operations of what they need and then what I need to do to help those customers succeed. I eventually transitioned that into more of a sales role. Once I did more sales, I kind of got my feet wet as far as learning the industry more, learning how to talk about the industry, learning how to sell the industry. But, none of that would have been possible if I didn't know the nuts and bolts of it, learning the operations, learning the dispatch, learning basically how the trucking industry works. Once I got my feet wet in that industry, I ventured off to something else for a little while. It was still in the trucking industry, but it was just a different company. With that company, I had more of a role as far as managing bigger accounts and projects. And that's really where I kind of found my niche, I would say. I had some customers we grew substantially with them, such as project management, a lot of oil field, a lot of rig sites, mines, obviously. So once I ventured into that, I figured, hey, this is something I really like doing. I like the project management side of it. I like the sales side of it. I like the whole, the industry as a whole. But what really got me is tackling these projects. And once I learned how these projects work and what it took to help these customers succeed, it just really kind of grounded me and said, hey, this is what I want to do. So I did that for a little while, and then had the opportunity to venture with another company, and I had a great opportunity to grow with them. So I was kind of the same role, managing large accounts, helping grow the company overall, grow the business. So I had a lot of great experience there, a lot of great people everywhere I've worked with. And then in 2018, I had the opportunity to venture out on my own, and I created Nico Logistics. One of the things creating a company, you try to overthink things, I think. One of the hardest parts of me was coming up with the name. So I had so many different names, so many different ideas. And then I just thought, how about Nicholas Company or Nick Co? And Nick Co turned into Nico, and then everyone just called me Nico. So I said, stick with that. That was simple. I liked it. It was catchy, and the rest is history. Been doing Nico since 2018. A lot of oil and gas, chemicals, anything and everything, honestly. A lot of rig sites, projects. Obviously, that's my niche. And we've been happy to grow every year. The pandemic was tough, as for everybody, but we have some low customers, and we really just grinded down and helped those customers succeed during tough times, and we got through it. Now we are continuing to grow, and I'm happy to say that Nico Logistics is doing very well as far as our customer base and client base. We take care of everybody, and we try to do the best we can to help each customer and adapt to their needs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and freight is so important for the industry. And, with all this up and down with gas prices and the oil crisis, et cetera, it's and then trucker strikes and all kinds of stuff happening, all over the place. Having the right kind of trucking partner is just so important in energy and definitely in pipeline industry for sure. And I know you've had some big pipeline operator companies that you've done a lot with as well, hadn't you?
Mm-hmm. One of the sides of that is learning those pipeline companies is understanding the driver situations as well, like you mentioned, the strikes and the oil and the fuel and all. One of the, I guess, biggest advantages in my career is being able to talk to the drivers and the customers. So often you get a sales role or you get just an operations role. I was fortunate to be able to learn both. So that way, when I talk to a driver, when they're asking me, hey, this is what I'm looking to do, this is my situation, this is what I'm struggling with, I can go to the customer and say, hey, I understand your need, but in order to make that happen, here's what we need to do.
Yeah.
That also both ways. I know when the customer has a need and they need to get something there on time, I'm realistic with these drivers. These drivers know if it can be done, if it can't be done. Being honest is one of the biggest, I guess, strengths of any company. And I think that it's something that you have to do, honestly. We aren't used car salesmen. Everything does come out. So you say you need to get somewhere at a certain time, you just need to be honest. There's weather, again, anything, strikes, anything could happen.
Yeah.
About being upfront with customers and letting them know, hey, these are the issues that could happen, and here's why, and here's what we can do about it.
Yeah, yeah. And you've always been a very square business guy. I've dealt with you over many years here, and we have a past history as well, but having a good freight partner in your corner is just so important. But even dealing with, like I said, the gas prices and the fluctuations of the pricing, I mean, that affects a truckload so much, the cost of it. And I feel like you've always been a fair partner to work with.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, again, it's being transparent. I mean, I think last summer, some of the line hauls that we were doing doubled in price.
Yeah.
And it's just about being upfront to those customers. And, I know some situations where customers say, hey, that sounds too high. Let me go shop around. And as hated as I'm much saying it, or as much as I hate to say it, I would say go shop around.
Yeah.
It's the market. It is a market. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. But, the best we can do is relay that information to our customers, and whatever that customer or customers have that feedback, present that to the drivers, and then we sit on equal ground and try to help everybody out.
Yeah. Just educate them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, when did you become passionate about your focus?
I guess when I became passionate is during, I guess, right when I started in this career, I learned that what I do as far as transportation and trucking, people always ask me, what do you do? I say, I help make the world go around.
Yeah.
So those things where it's like, my kids used to ask me that, what do you do? I'll be like, well, you see that piece of steel over there on that building being put up? I help move that.
Yeah.
See some of those boxes of cereal? I help ship those.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where you feel like you're impacting society. So, you're helping the whole chain move, again, hence the supply chain. But it's just, I fell in love with it because it was one of those things, again, I was helping the world move, and I really enjoyed it, and I helped getting customers their needs taken care of. I help drivers keeping their trucks running. Everyone keeps moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Now, what is something that has been more challenging than you had expected?
Well, Tim, kind of like you mentioned earlier, last year with the fuel prices, I've been doing this since 2016. We had a little bit of situation in 2018 that was kind of similar, but never like I saw last summer. Some of these rates were crazy. The fuel, just the way it increased. I guess that was probably the biggest challenge, at least for us personally, Nico, the same amount of business was there, just unfortunately margins were down. We wanted to keep our customers happy, but we wanted to keep our drivers happy as well and keep carriers running. But with that price of that fuel, it just kind of impacted everybody. So it wasn't just me, it was across the board. Drivers weren't making more money, they were just paying more for fuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles. I would say that the strikes were a big deal, but luckily we were able to have some carriers that they were part of it, but we did a lot into Canada, and I guess they wanted to keep running, honestly. And we try to treat them fair. We supported their agenda, what they were looking to accomplish, so we backed them on that side of it. But we also understood, and they understood that we all need to work, man. So they kept running, they kept pushing on. So I would say the biggest hurdle has been this fuel. It's one of the things I've learned, especially in this last year. Again, just be transparent, man. I had to tell these customers up front. They're fueling their cars just like me and you are, so they know the price. But once it from line, then it becomes a real situation. So, that's probably been the big. Other than that, you get some crazy one-off stories, truck breakdown, DOT pulling trucks over for, inspection, stuff like that. I always tell my wife that I pretty much work 24/7, especially since starting Nico. I'll get a call at 2 a.m. and driver will be telling me, hey, I'm going to be late for your 7 a.m. delivery. And I got to wake up real quick and figure out who's talking to me and what's going on. And then, let my customer know, hey, that 7 a.m. delivery is not going to happen. So, not really a hurdle, but this is part of the job.
Yeah. Try and give them as big a heads up as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
What good life lessons have you learned?
Again, kind of we talked about earlier, man, be honest. When I first got into this industry, I was a young kid, so I was confident. And I always just tried to put my salesman hat on and try to tell the customer what they wanted to hear. One day early on in my career, that bit me in the butt, and I learned, hey, man, this is you can't try to sell your way out of it. You got to just be upfront. This is the industry. This is trucking. Trucks are on the road, and eventually everyone's going to find out what's going on. So being transparent and being honest was probably the best way, I guess, that I learned early on is to approach my business. If something needs to be there at a certain time or they're looking for a certain price, if I can't do that, I'm just going to tell them, hey, I can't do that. But here's what I can do. Here's why it might help you. And then I let them make.
What coworkers or mentors were the greatest contributors to your character?
There's a lot to mention, to be honest. There's a few early starting on in my career. A guy that was a salesman above me, he taught me a lot. Again, about being honest, just being upfront with customers. He taught me about just how to present yourself in front of customers and the importance of the carrier side as well. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, and none of this is possible without the drivers. So I can talk to customers all day and tell them we'll get this from point A to point B, but we don't have a truck on the road. None of this means anything.
Yeah.
So taking care of the carriers is number one. And then once we're able to do that, we can help our customers. But I guess what they taught me is just, again, being upfront with people, how to present yourself. At another company I worked for, I had a manager that was very stern, I guess you could say, but it taught me a lot of discipline. There's a lot of things I took away from his style. It was just the way he carried himself. He was a very number-oriented guy, and just the way he knew everything, like to a pinpoint. Even in meetings, he would just spit these numbers out and have everything. And I thought, okay, I need to get to that level, because if he can spit out those numbers. I'm sitting there just taking notes down, like, I'll get back to you on that number. And he knew those numbers. So he studied it. And I looked at him one day. I was like, how do you know that? He looked at me, he goes, Matt, he's like, I do my homework. And I was like, okay, do your homework. So that was one of the biggest things I learned. And then more recently at an employer, I got good guidance from some people that, that work there, about managing people, learning the difference of people and how different people like to be managed, different people's style of working, and really just what makes people happy. And I think the biggest part of anytime you work with somebody is you want to feel important. You want to feel like you're doing a good job. You want to feel like there's growth, and you want to feel like basically what you're doing has a purpose. So I took that away a lot as well. So there's been a few people, but it's all been different areas throughout my career as I've gotten older that I've learned. So they've all been pretty important.
Yeah. What, and you don't have to use names or anything, but let's talk about your worst project. And then on the inverse of that, what's your best project? What does that look like?
Yeah, of course, I can't get the names, but
yeah.
I would say my worst one, without getting too much into details, we were hauling a crane, and the crane was on the way to a job site to offload for a rig site. And on the way, the truck veered off into a ditch, and the crane fell off of the truck, hit a light pole, knocked the lights down, knocked all the power lines down.
Oh, man.
I got the rig site manager calling me saying, hey, where's my truck? I got all these guys waiting. And I was like, and where's the crane? I go, well, I'm going to tell you a story about both of those. Then,
no.
I had to break that news, and that was a bad situation on my part, the customer's part, the driver's part, everyone's part.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the worst because it just kind of snowballed. One truck going off in that ditch affected so many other things.
Yes.
That company's bottom line, their rig was down. That driver, his truck was messed up. The crane company, their crane was messed up.
Oh, man.
And me, I'm the man there telling everybody in the middle of it. And it was just one of those deals where it was not good for anybody, but I did learn a lot. Just, again, being upfront with people. I didn't try to sugarcoat it. He asked me where the truck was, and I told him straight up, truck's in a ditch, so's the crane.
Yeah.
That didn't go over too well. We were eventually able to get that customer back, but yeah, that was probably one of the biggest hurdles I had to deal with.
Yeah.
One of the biggest, I guess, projects I've been doing recently is for a very large company. Big name, but again, I can't talk about names, but we've done a lot with them over the past 4 years, and it's just been great being able to learn from a big company like that, how they work, some of their internal processes, some of the behind the scenes work, kind of what they do. So it's been really good just to get our hands on that kind of stuff and understand how they work and what they do.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got their bad project and nobody ever talks about it, but
yeah, I mean, I could probably go on a few more. I don't know. Podcast be.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that, but no, it's just it's just good for people to know, hey, there's bad things that happen, and here's how you overcome that, and you survive the worst of things, and you feel so sick in your stomach as it's going on, but but you knock that shit out and you become so much stronger because of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I lost some sleep over that crane one, I can tell you that. That was an ordeal.
Yeah. What's something about your industry that surprised you in recent years? And maybe we already touched on it, but
yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit. I would say, I mean, not really surprising, I guess, kind of just learning how things are evolving a little bit. Again, I mentioned one of the mentors when I first began my career. He would tell me, looking up leads and calling customers, they used to use a Rolodex, and they just go there and have all these cards on it. And while I'm sitting there just scrolling through my emails and just typing emails and picking up my cell phone and calling people. And it was one of those things. I was like, wow, that's come a long way. Technology, that's for everybody. I guess more related to trucking, but obviously using integrated CRM systems, tracking systems, ways to pinpoint what's working, what's not working for certain companies, and in regards to freight, that's been a big thing. And honestly, we kind of touched on that a little bit, like you said, but it's, everything is always evolving. So I think one of the important things is to stay ahead of it and stay on top of it. I mean, I have to, know everything right away. But again, like I said earlier, do my homework. So I try to get my feet into everything and study a little bit of everything that's related to my industry, my customers, and my drivers. And, that's probably the biggest takeaway of that.
Good. What big projects are on the horizon, or you got some big news coming up?
I mean, again, some of the customer related stuff, I can't really, speak about names and whatnot, but we do have some big projects on the way. We are getting into a lot more stuff with the Port of Houston, which is nice. So that's a big potential project that we had that's going to be on the horizon. Again, some of those bigger customers we've already been moving for, they are stepping up a lot.
Good.
We are working with some customers right now about getting into Mexico. So that's a big thing that, that's going to help out. Again, shipped a lot into Canada over the past few years. So getting on the Mexico side of it will be another, I guess, notch on our pole to add something that we've been able to do.
Yeah.
But as far as like big projects, rolling steady and trying to grow with the current customers we have, build new customers, and keep going.
Yeah. I've dealt a little bit with customs in Mexico on a few of our projects, but it's it's a different animal. I'm sure it's a lot different than Canada.
It is, and so us with Nico, we do mainly domestic, but since we do Canada, obviously we've done that as well. But going into Mexico, it's a different ballgame, man. Especially dealing with customs. So we all know that side of it is a little different as far as the domestic side of it. So again, we're learning, but we have some partners that we work with that are experts on this. So it's helped us a lot, and that's why we're continuing to grow.
Good, man. Good. Now, what is your vision? What do you see energy in the future? How's it affecting your business, and what's the coolest inventions that you've seen recently?
As far as and it relates to energy, obviously price of fuel, that drives everything. Oil, that drives the oil and gas industry, especially here in Houston. So the busier they are, the busier we are. So that all correlates. So that's, I guess, one of the biggest, interactions between oil and gas and trucking.
Now, do you have any trucks that are, let's say, using other kind of fuels or battery or hydrogen? People looking
like electric
into that.
trucks. So I've been speaking with some companies who do that. At this point, we have not physically moved any loads that are, self-driving trucks or electric trucks, anything like that. I know that there are some companies that are doing that. It's something that we are looking into, though.
Yeah.
Again, people that do that, but me personally, no, I have not yet.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was like a different pricing structure. I'm sure it would be something. I wouldn't know if it'd be more expensive or less. I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it'd probably be less in the long run. I know there's a lot of ideas out there as far as building roads with, basically charging electric currents underneath it where they keep the trucks running. It'd almost be like trains where they just have their set lanes and they go back and forth. So I think after you build that infrastructure, it would eventually be cheaper. Up front, that cost would probably be a lot. But again, that's something we're on the early stages of looking at. So I can't speak on the cost.
Yeah.
It's exciting, I can tell you that.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. What's something positive about you outside of work that most familiar with you wouldn't know?
I'm pretty transparent, man, as you know. I know. I love sports, basketball, football, baseball. I love music. I love attending, many conferences as I can. Time with my kids. I mean, that's, our kids keep us busy, man. So they're all in their own activities at the weekend, and seems like they all want different activities. So weekends and weeks tend to be pretty busy.
Yeah.
But I guess most people know about my faith is a big deal. I think everything in life is for Jesus, for the man upstairs. None of us or any of this is possible without him. So I'm a firm believer. And I think just again, there's not really too much to hide about me. I talk to a lot of people, and one of the things I like to do is just straight get into it, man. No BSing around. Hey, how's the weather? Let's just, you feeling all right, man? And I talk about it. We go from, again, that's just my faith. I'm comfortable talking about people like that, and I think people are comfortable talking to me that let me know what's on their mind as well.
Very good. Do you have, let's say, of course, your service? What can we help you promote to the audience? Do you have any book or anything that you're working on, or networking events, or et cetera, that are coming up?
We do have some networking events. So recently we just were published in an article of Voyage magazine.
Okay.
So they reached out to me as far as more about my history. We were able to do an interview about that. That was really cool. We've actually done a few various articles over the last few years. I can post that on your link or my link as well, just to kind of give the audience a brief description of that. We do have a networking event coming up May 5th, which will be very cool, at Alabama Ice House. We're going to do a crawfish boil. We're hosting that with a couple of my customers, and we're going to be crawfishing good times, man. So.
Very good. Very good. What is the best way for the audience to support you and your company and get in contact with you?
Various platforms. I mean, you can reach me on Facebook at Nico Logistics. All the same handles for everything: Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Looking about Matt Nicholas. We can find our company page at Nico Logistics, NicoLogistics.com. So we're pretty much available everywhere. One of the ways, obviously, they can support me is just if you have questions or you have shipping needs, just to reach out. One of the things that we try to do is discover if we're a good fit. If we're not, I'll tell you why and who I think might be a good fit, because maybe down the line we'll be able to work together again one day. I think I mentioned to you, before we got on, I had a customer that I've been calling on for years, and recently they told me they have a big project, and we've been working together. So when I first started calling on them 2 years ago, we weren't a fit, and I told them why. Now we are a fit. So
that's good.
I guess just reaching out if you have a shipping need, let me know, and then we'll go from there.
Very good. Hey, it's been a blessing having you today. I appreciate your time, and we're going to wrap this up and share you with the audience here.
Sir, well, Sam, I appreciate it, man, and thanks for all you're doing, man.
All right, have a great day.
Yes, sir. Thanks.